Hello and welcome back to more AEW on TEW 2020. We are here, week 3 Collision, out here in February, just over a week away from Revolution. We start off with Drilsko and Hiromu Takahashi, more on them in a bit. Defeating the Gates of Agony, Toliona pinned with Fisherman Suplex. They don't work well as a team. That's unfortunate, but not a terrible thing. Basically, so Rush, he first explains why Daga is out of the tournament for now. Daga, literally the day that the tournament got announced, got concussed. He'll be out for a little bit over a month. So it'll just end up being Takahashi and Driscoll dealing with bad chemistry, I guess. Afterwards, he continues to talk about Mark Briscoe. He says, Mark Briscoe, you made a mistake angering El Toro Blanco. I don't care about your family, I don't care about your standing, I don't care about anything about that. I don't care about what people think about you. What matters in this business is LFI, La Facción. And Eddie Kingston, I know you're tight with Briscoe, or at least you have the same disgusting sort of aura as Mark Briscoe. Don't get me wrong, I'm not interested in your tertiary title, Eddie. I'm interested in the TNT title. Daga, Dralistico, Vance, Hiromu, all of them are willing to take your head, Kingston. And Briscoe, you're nothing but a bump in our path. So yeah, still mostly getting over that. LFI, they're pretty much all going for mid-card titles right now. Rush just needs to get built up more, but he will be a main event guy. After this, we see a vignette showing Chris Statlander approaching a fairly run-down set. She marches in looking annoyed and eventually finds Toni Storm. Mariah May and Luther get in the way of Chris, and Chris demands to know how and why Toni Storm got whatever information was in that letter. And Toni, she's confused by it. I know that the letter was sent, but that information was patently obvious to anyone out there. And Chris, she's angry, and eventually she seems to calm herself down, looks to be leaving, before turning around, beats down Luther, beats down Mariah May, and then pounces on Toni, gives her a third press. What? And then eventually she picks up the title, drops it onto Toni's face, and then she says, you know what, got 1 week to take care of things, but at Revolution next week on Sunday, coming back to the set to kick Toni's ass and take her title. So it will be a cinematic match, a Hollywood backlot brawl, won't actually be in Hollywood, probably, but will be a cinematic match, Chris Statlander versus Toni Storm. I'm sure Mariah May and Luther won't get involved. As we see Britt Baker's office, and the camera eventually shows that the doors are closed for the day. Eventually there's a nice little fade to show Britt Baker training in a ring against Megan Bayne. Reba is acting as the ref, and Britt is just about to put the lockjaw in, or at least, you know, a weaker variant of it, so not to actually hurt her new killer, when some sarcastic claps were being heard. Diamante walks in and just mocking Britt Baker in her attempts to save AEW from all these people. And she spent so long ruling it like a tyrant, being, you know, ruling over with the reign of terror. Megan, she takes exception, but Britt calms her down. Don't get heated by what Diamante's saying. And Diamante, she, you know, she's outright. She says, hey, I don't have any love. I don't like Mercedes Monet. I don't like Starlum interlopers, whatever. So I'm not going to do anything to harm your chance to take them out, but the Bullet Club, they've been looking to get their claws into this side of the company, into this side of the business in general, and there's a big target on Britt Baker's back. Diamante taunts for a little bit more before leaving, and then Britt refocuses in on her training. Diamante, she's cool, so yeah, finally doing something with her. After this, Camille actually picks up a win over Nyla Rose. Surprisingly, very similar rating. I'm surprised, because I guess they're both unimportant, yeah. Whatever. Camille is smug in her victory, and Harley Cameron gets into the ring and jumps her. She's beating down Camille for a bit, but Camille, she still does get the upper hand, but that advantage is crushed when Nyla rejoins the fight. Camille eventually is put down to be sitting in the corner. Harley Cameron pulls out her knife. Nyla scares off Bryce Remsburg, and Harley stabs the knife into the top turnbuckle, takes some of the cotton, takes some of the stuffing, whatever it is, shoves it into Camille's face, basically forcing her to be George the Animal Steel for a moment. And Harley, she's happy with her moral victory and begins to leave the ring, and her and Nyla seem to have hit it off well. I didn't check about chemistry. I don't think they had any chemistry notes, though. After this, Hangman is seen at the bar, drinking and cursing under his breath that AEW has abandoned him. Someone sits beside him and says that there's some other people sympathetic to the Cowboy. He introduces himself as Brian Keith. He hates what Swerve's been doing with AEW, and if people like Swerve are going to go around and mess things up, they might have to take matters into their own hands, take the law into their own hands. Hangman seems intrigued by the proposal, and accepts Brian's assistance against the Gates of Agony and Dynamite. I have to fully actually set in Brian Keith's stuff, because right now he's just borrowed from ROH, but he's going to be one of those people that is on both ROH and AEW, so yeah. I'll fix that up in not too long, don't worry. Renee Paquette is then backstage interviewing Darby Allin and Sting. Darby says that he's not afraid of whatever the Don Callis family is trying to cook up, but it's Sting who gets the final words. Says, Callis, you're a card. I'm not going to sugarcoat that anymore. And I know that you're out there. You've been pushing people aside for your own gain, and you know, all those people that are with you, I know that they're much better than you let them be. But Will Ospreay, I know that he's done a lot against Darby, and you know, I'm not just going to sit around and let that happen. So, Revolution, I think that we need to settle things a bit. Me and Darby will take on your family. I don't care who it is, but I'm sure Will Ospreay will want to come in, and whichever one of you two it is, we will take you out, and we'll show you your place. This isn't going to be Sting's retirement match, like it was in real life. Not because I want Sting to wrestle more, but because I just haven't really had the build for it. So, that'll probably be his next match, will be his retirement. Of course, the Tag Champions defeat the FC, right? DFI. DMI. Dynasty Marketing Incorporated, that's what it is. Took me a little bit to remember. All pretty evenly rated, which is pretty good. Especially because these two are both unknown. How does the Acclaim as it gets them to come up to the ring? Casters rap is against both Dynasty Marketing and the Tag Champs. And that is supposed to be Alex Hammerstone. Whoops. It's fine. And they cut more promo. They're angry about the fact that they aren't even in the Tag Team Classic. But that's because they know that they have more in the tank. They have more left to give out there. And Richard Holiday, he cuts up the Acclaimed, and his interruption is interrupted by Daddy Ass, Billy Gunn, interrupting him, saying basically like, hey, shut up, we're not talking to you. Time for the Acclaim, time for the real AEW stars to go out here. The real AEW wrestlers to go out here. And Holiday, he gets pissed off by this, so he challenges Billy Gunn to a singles match for next week, which of course Billy does accept. Meanwhile, the Tag Champs are just kind of like, hello, we're here too. After this, David Boy Smith Jr. puts on a PSA announcement, flanked by Allison Ketch and Sammy Guevara. Says that, you know, he needs to... I've forgotten how to speak. He chastises the company for the poor use of language, especially Adam Copeland's during his call-out of Christian Cage on Dynamite. Says that Samuel Guevara is going to begin his journey keeping the airwaves safe on Dynamite when he wrestles in a match. David Boy Smith Jr., I mean, he's David Boy Smith Jr. He's not going to do much. Saraya defeats Red Velvet. Perfect. Red Velvet. Backstabber. Pretty quick match here. Saraya is ready to cut a promo, but she's cut off by Sky Blue. Sky comes out and says that Saraya's claim for the TBS title is a load of crap, and that she is deserving of the honor. They start arguing. Eventually, Trinity comes out. She says that she has a claim to more than that, because she's already a champion in TNA. She's already one of the best women's champions in the world. They start arguing more, but Tony Schiavone comes out, makes an announcement from Tony Khan. He says that all three do have good arguments. Start Revolution. They will face each other in a fatal four-way in a ladder match where Tenille and Ruby Soho are barred from ringside. I probably could have done better setup to make this a ladder match, but oh well. What can you do? Jay White defeats Commander. I think yeah, that's pretty much just a, hey, Jay White's here too. Now this Mercedes is seen in a bougie little penthouse, flanked by the Renegades. And she says, Julia, Tommy, and Susu, I brought you all here and you decided that you didn't want or need the CEO. It's gonna be a bit of a tough sell considering we have our 8-woman tag match at Revolution, so I guess you'll just have to play nice until then. Unless you want to face my Renegades, or... And she kind of leans back, she's in a real big office chair, again, it's a very... That's a CEO chair. And Lio Rush and Lee Moriarty come in, and they're both well-dressed. Lio is just a lot more casually well-dressed than Lee Moriarty. And, they show up, and Mercedes just says, Mercedes Monet Entertainment isn't just for the gals in the room. Lio Rush back in AEW after a long time out. And then Lee Moriarty, I think, also pretty much the same. Both part of MME. Now this JR is in a sit-down interview with Okada. He ends up having a discussion about Okada's history in the company and with the Elite. Eventually that goes to Samoa Joe, who Okada immensely respects, but he says, well, Okada was always destined for greatness. Well, Joe is never the legend that Okada is, or always was, ignore Okada. Okada says that he's going to make up for his previous failures in AEW, will claim the world title before putting AEW to the heights that New Japan can and did reach under his watch. Yeah, just Okada putting over himself, putting over Samoa Joe a little bit as well, and hyping up the match a little bit more. In our main event, Lucha Brothers defeat the Righteous. What a shock. It's just a 67. Worst rated show so far. But, well. It didn't lose us any popularity, which is what matters. And, yeah, I do agree this was a pretty bad show. My tag league, the tag classic for Collision is not a very good group of people. They are not very good at all. But, well. We'll deal with that. And next time we move on to Dynamite.